All right. Good morning, everyone. Uh, Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in this webcast. My name is Nadeem Nahhas. I am the Director of Delivery and Senior Consultant Partner within FranklinCovey Middle East office. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll be your host in today's webcast, Maintaining Productivity in Unpredictable Times. Um, Catching up, this is, I know some of you might have joined our previous webcasts throughout throughout basically last month. Just I want to just building on our previous webcast, we have three. We talked about crisis of trust. My colleague Stefan covered this, and we highlighted in that webcast the importance of building high trust relationships with our teams, especially with everyone, but especially with our teams working from home. The next webcast was also hosted by my colleague Mai, and she connected the 7 Habits framework facing today's pandemic, this crisis that all of us were going through, and the importance of being proactive and focus on what we can control. Then my colleague Sharif also talked about the execution, failure to execute also and during this time, and the importance of focusing our teams working from home on few important priorities. We call them wildly important goals. Today we will be focusing on productivity and how we as leaders can support our teams working from home towards more focus and priority. And just keep our mics muted at all times to avoid unnecessary interference. And please, at any time, if you have any comments, if you have any questions, any technical difficulties, you can absolutely just reflect that, write it in your chat, in the chat box. The whole team is on this webcast. We have an amazing team supporting us today, so therefore they will attend to your request on the spot. Keep a handy pen and paper, any notepad, just in case, if you want to reflect any ideas, any notes, any thoughts from today's webcast related to you and your team. This webcast is scheduled for 50 minutes. And so basically, I will be sharing some insights and some slides with you during the first 40 minutes, and then we're going to allow like 5 or 10 minutes if you have any questions or comments. This webcast is recorded and will be accessible on our websites for those of you who would like to share it with colleagues or team members, or if you want to listen to it again later. And for that, for your convenience, this is, let me share with you as leaders, and I'm sure now we're in our 4th or 5th week into this crisis, and our teams are facing, we and our team were facing this drastic change caused by the COVID-19. Fear is experienced and uncertainty, and we are overwhelmed, I'm sure, about a lot of things, whether family-related, business-related, extended family. We are on lockdown here in Dubai, or basically the whole world is on lockdown, obviously. And all this worry caused by this crisis. A lot of changes in a lot of our sleeping, eating patterns as well. Maybe all this is factoring itself in some difficulty in focusing, and maybe we don't know, or you might find yourself, I have a lot to do and I don't know where to focus, where to start, what kind of priorities we might have. And definitely this will generate that continuous anxiety, and that might relate to a lot of other maybe health challenges. So at this time, we as leaders, we should act as anchors to our teams and provide them with whatever support they might need to face this pandemic. Our support will be highly influence them and their engagement levels, and therefore we can utilize the best of their time and energy by focusing them on some maybe few areas. Some potential might be, this is, and again, we are in the 4th or 5th week now. Everyone was into, just taking care of the hygiene, sterilizing everything, whether anything coming into your house, want to make sure that, everything is sterilized and, is free of anything. Bonding relationship with the family. Now you are at home with all your loved ones, all your family members, no matter how small or large, it's still, they are there. So therefore, it's all about connecting with them at the same time, finding a balanced space, balanced focus, so you can achieve what you want to achieve. Work is absolutely, we're working remotely. So work today and then the future. Planning for the rest of the year, maybe planning for after this crisis pass, and it will pass. Maybe some utilization of the time can be geared towards self-development. Me as a leader, what can let me use this opportunity in terms of what kind of self-development I can do, working from home. Therefore, after we come back, I'll be able to reflect that on my teams as well. And so much more, I am sure. Look at all these videos, roaming around from different people all around the world in terms of how creative they are, in terms of reflecting how they utilize their time at home, whether for personal or business related matters. And it's just amazing to show us how creativity and how creative people are. So let me share with you some data. These are some psychological impacts. Let me share with you some data that this is our own research, recent one, which shows current challenges in the GCC region. And as you can see, the top 3, the first one is uncertainty in the future ahead. It has the highest, 68%. Revenue losses, of course. And this is, I'll be talking about it a little bit because this is where a lot of businesses are impacted heavy, in a heavy way today. In terms of how can we survive today, at the same time, how can we guarantee or business continuity after? And the third one was not achieving goals, and that factors or related to business results, therefore revenues and losses. And therefore, we found some answers into what can we do in these uncertain times. In the work of our late Stephen R. Covey, and our CEO, Bob Whitman. And I will be sharing with you those insights. Now, getting back to the data, what we discovered as well, this is where also, these are something that we can do to face these challenges and to overcome them. And as you can see, it's the communication. So the more we communicate with our teams, the more we will be able to support them with whatever needed information. At the same time, we can shield them from unnecessary information that's resulting from over communicating. Because again, let's be realistic. Now, if you take yourself and do some sort of simple assessment, how many emails, how many messages, how many social media related messages you receive every single day from everyone, all the people, whether in your network or outside, and all of us, we are pushing and forwarding these messages and information to our groups. So communication is key. However, sometimes over communication might create more distraction. Therefore, it will influence our focus. And as I said, we found the answer through the work of Stephen Covey and Bob Whitman. This is basically predictable results in unpredictable times. The content, the literature, and we have much more in addition to this book, much more we have in our library as FranklinCovey Worldwide. And however, this book, The Predictable Results, is highlighting 4 hazards of unpredictable times that we face that every organization face. These 4 hazards, the first one is crisis of trust. And as I said, we tackled this topic in the first webcast done March 17th by my colleague Stefan. Then the other hazard was the pervasive fear. This is where my colleague as well, we connected the 7 habits to face and to respond to these feelings and to these feelings of, negative feelings, if I want to call them. Then the failure to execute, also we tackled that through, the webcast by my colleague Sharif. Today, we will be focusing on loss of focus, which is connected pretty much to productivity. And at this time, your team, we as leaders and our teams might be feeling this way, especially maybe our teams. And I'm sure they've been through this a couple of weeks back, and some of them, they still do go through this. They might be feeling like this: all what I want right now is just to lock myself in my room so I won't get sick. So it's all about, so here at this point, we as leaders, we need to make sure in terms of, and we need to keep asking ourselves, how do I support my team so we can maintain a good level of productivity amid feeling this way, facing this pandemic? And more than ever today, we need our people to be effective and efficient. There is no time for wasted energy or for people to invest resources on the things that will have the biggest impact. As most of your people are working from home, we need to make sure that they have the knowledge and the tools necessary to focus their time and energy on the tasks and projects that will have the biggest impact at this time. It's that concept of better utilization, and we as leaders, we hold the key to that. Now, what we always say as leaders, it's all about having an early and ongoing conversations with your remotes around when they should or shouldn't act without you, because this is part of the clarity that we can provide them with. And at the same time, because now business is not as usual, obviously, so therefore, if they have any questions, if they have any concern, they cannot catch you between meetings or swing by or just send you a message for a quick answer or quick approval. So this is where we as leaders, we need to take this chance just to, reach out for them and to weigh in. And, basically, if we as leaders, wait for or insist that our remotes wait for our input before they act at every turn, at this point, I think that might be hinder or basically definitely impact productivity levels negatively. On the other hand, if we tell them to run with it, they could absolutely run with the wrong direction. So what's the solution? The solution, we always say, it's all about balance. And to avoid these potential snags proactively, we need to run through some possible scenarios with our remotes that they might be encounter. Some areas, for example, might, connected to customer requests. That they might require a quick fix without time for my approval as a leader or for my review. And this is where, if I'm connecting with the previous webcast, this is the kind of, when we have this conversation early on, and they understand exactly when they need to get back to me or not, this is where we empower them, and this is where they feel that they are trusted by me as the leader. Trust will be high, therefore it will impact the relationship, therefore result will be satisfactory at this time. This is where also we can, it's all about our employees' engagement. This is where we can discuss competency and their, building their confidence in handling any request that might come, boosting their confidence in this kind of situations. At the same time, it's all about, I need to be direct with them about what their level of involvement and what's not. Um, and it's all about, coming to an agreement at the end of the day to the level of autonomy you both think it's reasonable. So it can be, connect with them at the end of each day if you want. If you don't have a large team, a quick connection, quick, touch point. It can be like 5 minutes, or you decide, how many times you want to do a week, or maybe once at the end of the week. It's totally up to you, but it's all about, you agree with them and you set some sort of boundaries and agreement, you put it in place, and everyone will act accordingly. Therefore, this is the agenda that I will be focusing on. What might be some paradox for productivity that we might be facing now in this situation with the COVID-19? The power of focus on few priorities, and how when we do that, we'll be able to achieve more with less. And by achieving more with less, it's all about, the kind of decisions that we make as leaders that's impacting our teams and results, the kind of attention and how can I focus my team's attention towards these few priorities, and the kind of levels of energy that me and my team should have to be able basically to accommodate all this. And later, I'll be mentioning quickly these 8 ways to manage your team members remotely. And I'm sure by now you received, I don't want to say hundreds, but a lot of articles and links connecting to the same topic. However, this is something in relation to our thoughts and our research when it comes to predictable results. I will be sharing that with you. We will be sharing that with you after this webcast. You receive it, or will direct you to where you can find this level of information. As FranklinCovey, we've been the leader in utilizing management for so many years. We've trained millions of people, and I'm not exaggerating, around the world in terms of, and we enable them in terms of learning and different tools. If they utilize them, it will reflect, or it will impact the level of productivity. In normal working days, productivity problems go far deeper than just managing units of time. Moreover, with this pandemic we are facing today, we have specific challenges that can leave our teams feeling unaccomplished and weary at the end of the day. A lot of questions at the end of the day might be, am I utilizing my time properly? Where is that leading to? What's the main goal? What's the objective? And so on and so forth. Therefore, this is the paradox that we're facing today. Facing today's situation, we say in today's world, it's both easier and harder than ever to achieve productivity. I don't want to even talk about extraordinary productivity. And here, absolutely, the best example of it, and what's meant by the slide, it's the usage of technology, the utilization of technology. Because all of us are working remotely right now, and while technology might make things much easier for us and our teams to be productive, and our productivity should or would be at good levels, yet that same technology might be the biggest distraction if we don't know how to utilize it properly. Now, fun fact about our brain loves the novelty of those things and things, all these sounds and notifications that we receive from our technology. And this might create an addiction to technology, and sometimes it doesn't help. However, as I said, if we utilize this technology properly, it will make our life easier, it will make us more effective and more efficient, but also it will absolutely help us to focus our teams and not to overburden us or them with unneeded information. So therefore, you might be feeling this way as leaders. You might be feeling like, oh my God, a lot of decisions to be made, priorities is a challenge. I need to focus the team and their efforts working remotely, but I don't know how maybe. I have a lot of information about that. I don't know where to start. I am concerned with what is happening to the business today, and I'm absolutely concerned about business continuity after this. So a lot of decisions to be made. And nowadays, you might maybe when at some point when you were faced with few decisions to make, today we are absolutely bombarded with a lot of decisions that needs to be, we need to have to impact and to make these decisions. And you might find yourself on a reactive mode because of the caused panic from this pandemic. Everyone wants to do everything at the same time. So many decisions to be made at the same time. So therefore, we as leaders, we need to make sure that the decisions we make, it's to the best interest of the business and it has a high impact. Another thing would be our attention is under attack, we say. Everyone are texting me, emailing me, forwarding messages to me, pushing emails to me, a lot of ideas and a lot of good ideas. Everyone is panicking and I am bombarded with communication by everyone and from everywhere. It is overwhelming. So therefore, our attention as leaders is under attack. And when we are overwhelmed, this is where this might impact our focus. Therefore, our productivity might be impacted for sure. And all this will leave us energyless. You might feel drained. You might feel absolutely, I don't have the energy, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, socially, and definitely this will impact our productivity. Very challenging to maintain or to be productive at those times. So what can I do? What's the solution? This is where we say, as a leader, it's all about, I want to make sure that I'm giving my team all the support they need, because this is where we know for a fact, after all these years, that we as human beings have absolutely the most amazing, limitless power. And therefore, what we're saying as leaders, the kind of choices that we make today facing this situation, it will impact the levels that we can maintain productivity today during facing this crisis and the kind of results that we might be wanting to have in the future. So it's all about the quality of the choices that we are making today. Therefore, I will be focusing a little bit on these three areas. The decisions we make as leaders, this is the first foundational choice, which is decisions. And here what we always say, what I value as a leader, it will become valued by everyone around me, especially my team. And therefore, what I value, therefore here, if I make the proper decisions that will impact the business, this will be the biggest support that I can provide for my team working from home. So it's all about, we say, act on the important. We need to make high-value decisions. And how do we make high-value decisions? Is by acting on the important and not reacting to the urgent, not relenting to the impulsiveness of all the good ideas that I hear I'm bombarded with from everyone around me. And therefore, this is where, as a leader, we all the time we ask ourselves, what can we do to maintain within our control to survive during this crisis? That's the first question. That's the first important area that I want to make a decision about. And then it becomes, then I will communicate it to my team. Then the other question would be, what can we do within our control to survive after this crisis and guarantee business continuity? So acting on the important is the key. This is one foundational choice. And the principle here that will help us to act on the important is that as a leader, we need to be able to discern. We need to be able to differentiate between the important proactive decision that we can control and the less important reactive ones that we can't control and might keep us and our teams busy from the beginning of the day till the end of the day. Because in this knowledge worker era that we're living at as leaders, we are getting paid to think. And can you guess what's our most important tool to work with? Yeah, it's our brain. And just to give you a perspective, I'm sure some of you are aware of these two hemispheres in our brain. And those of you who attended also our previous webcast, you got the chance to experience or to have some learning around this. But, we have these two parts of the brain. We have the old primitive side of the brain. This is where this side of the brain, this one, is the reactive one, the reactive side. Here we are on autopilot mode, right? It's mindless. We don't think much about it. You don't think when you get into your car going from your house to your work. You don't think when you do these routinely daily chores, tasks that you do it on a daily basis. You go to autopilot, and this is where your mind, this part of the mind, the brain, is responsible for reacting to this kind of stimulus. So therefore, facing this challenge, this is where this part of the brain is reacting to things. It's no-brainer. It's not intentional. And therefore, it's like we go to autopilot. However, this side of the brain, which is the new side of the brain, this one, this is the new side, and this is the executive brain, we call it. And this is the part of the brain that's responsible for planning, thinking of the future, utilizing our teams, focusing their attention on few priorities. This is where we practice self-control, practice, choose wisely and carefully, follow through. All these things that we want to make sure as leaders, we want to make sure that this part of the brain, the executive brain, is in charge. Therefore, it's intentional. All the decisions will be impactful. So this is the side of the brain that we want, again, to keep it in charge rather than to relent to the mindless part of our brain of just surviving or keeping the team busy. So tell me, when did you, just again, think something for you to think of, not to answer. Our brain, is wired for urgencies. So we always say when our ancestors used to see this guy roaming in the street, what do they do normally? What they used to do? They would absolutely feel the threat, acknowledge the threat. They will have this adrenaline kick to their big muscles, and they will run away with their lives. Why? Because otherwise there will be consequences. At that time, they will be eaten. And therefore, if we are, then this is the kind of addictive behavior that, caused by the stimulus. Now here, when they were basically threatened by saber-tooth, we are basically threatened by saber-tooth. This is again related to technology, related to the bombardment of communication, related to the amount of communication that we receive on a daily basis from all the mediums in relation to the COVID-19. So therefore, we don't want to, again, we want to be able to, this is connected to our executive brain. We want as leaders to be able to discern what's important, what's not important. And when we do that, then we reflect that on our teams. We keep their focus rather than to be threatened by the urgency and just the impulsiveness of making decisions or reacting to things. And by doing that, we will be focusing on what we can control. We call it the circle of influence. So as leaders, we focus our time, decisions, attention, energy on things that we can control. And when we do that, our circle influence will expand. Therefore, it will have an amazing impact on the business today. It will have an amazing impact on our teams and the kind of trust we have with them. And so when we face any stimulus, anything, and in this case, basically all the incoming, everything we come across every single second today, we have that space, and this is where we focus on what we can control. And therefore, the response will be impactful to everyone. This is one of the tools that I want to leave with you. It's a simple tool. We say as leaders, we want to stay true and strong in this moment of choice. And the tool is very simple, which is, if you see at the bottom, when I receive any kind of information, any kind of communication around me from anywhere, rather than to, again, relent to that autopilot, that old part of the brain, what we're saying, we will pause, and by pausing, as if you are inviting, you are calling your executive brain to come to the stage, to come to this situation. And when you pause, this is where you clarify. And by clarify, we say it's like you ask yourself through some questions. You ask yourself a few questions. It will help you as a leader to clarify this incoming. How is it impacting me, the business, the team, the results? And by doing this clarification, you'll have enough information. You're provided with data that it will help you to decide and to, again, make that decision of a high value that would impact the business proactively and positively. It's a very simple tool. As I said, this is where we don't react, we start responding, and by doing this, we start acting on the important by the kind of decisions we make. So what I want to do is, I want just to have this question for you. Let me just pull it. And I'm interested your opinion. I appreciate it if you can just, I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute. What's your insights around this question? Are we pausing or rationalizing our decisions or not? It's a yes and no answer. Please, you have 1 minute. Share your answers with me on this poll on the screen. Fantastic. We have 10 seconds just for, submission of responses, and I'll share with you the poll results. So if you can see from the results, 64 answered with yes, 52% of the total 123 attending this webcast. That means yes, we are rationalizing. That's great. Thank you so much for your feedback and input. And basically, I can see that 12 people, 10%, that were not rationalizing, which is absolutely fine. It's not about right and wrong. It's all about, this is one amazing tool. It will help me as a leader to discern and to act on the important and not to lose focus, because the kind of decisions that I make, it will impact my team and therefore the business and the productivity. Now, going to the next one, as we said, as I started, our attention as leaders is under attack. So there, what we're saying, we want to make sure that we focus on few priorities. We call them big rocks, and not to get overwhelmed or consumed with everything else. We call it the gravel. It's not about sorting or figuring out to do everything. It's all about focusing our team's attention on few priorities, few big rocks, that it will help them, it will impact the result. And the principle here, it's all about priority. We need to be able to, focus our attention on few priorities, that it will help us and help our team. It will impact their productivity levels. And this is where I'll be sharing with you a few things in terms of how can we learn to focus on our top priorities. And our brain really it's like, as we said, reward for urgencies. It's all about, as leaders, it's our role to rewire it to focus intentionally and engagement. And again, if you link to the brain, two sides, this is where our executive brain will help us with this by discerning what's important and what is not. So how do we achieve more with less? As most of your people, are working remotely nowadays, are we confident that they have the tools necessary to focus their time and energy on the tasks and projects that will have the biggest impact? So yes, look at the amazing acceleration in everything. Just the last couple of weeks, everyone is using the technology. Everyone's using these platforms. We're using WebEx. I'm sure there are Zoom. We have Microsoft Teams. We have Skype. All of these technology and platforms, it's all about, I want to make sure that in order for me to achieve more with less, that, my people, they have the necessary tools, and it will help them to focus their time and attention on few tasks. And therefore, we say establishing a daily routine. I connect with them one-on-one. Maybe this is the topic of future webcasts, where we dive a little bit deeper into this concept, and maybe we can highlight the importance of having these one-on-ones virtually with my team members. And by doing this, I will be, again, focusing their time, attention, energy towards few priorities, and this is where we will be achieving more with less. And to focus on our top priorities as a leader, let me start with the first. These are the two questions that I highlighted them earlier in this webcast. So I want to give you a few minutes, and I appreciate your feedback in the chat box. As the leader, what can be an impactful priority for you? And it is within your circle of control, things you can control, that it will help you to survive during this crisis. Already you started applying those ideas. I'm just going to give you 3 minutes, and I appreciate your answers in the chat box. This way we get abundance, we get to benefit each other. You get to share what you're doing during this crisis with the rest of your colleagues attending today's webcast. So 3 minutes, please. Appreciate your answer in the chat box for this question. I'll be reading some of the feedback that you are reflecting in the chat box. Thank you so much. It's pouring really. Focus on my circle of influence, lead by example in a measured, focused manner, support my customers and my team members, stay calm and go with the flow and support each other, good usage of time, empower team members both personally and business, support my customers, and so much more. I'm sure if you just go, we have another still 1 minute. This is amazing. Thank you so much. And again, it's the proof that all of us were doing the right thing just to survive during this crisis. And it's all within our control. Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. Keep it coming. But I have another question for you. The other question will be, as we agreed, that was your insights and what you're doing. And this is absolutely amazing, valuable information that you're sharing. Thank you so much. But this is all to survive during this crisis. The next question also, I'm going to give you a few minutes, and I appreciate you reflecting your answer in the chat box. What can we do as leaders? What can be done? What can be an impactful priority within my control to survive after this crisis and guarantees business continuity? Also, few minutes for that. Thank you so much. Answers are coming. Contingency planning, change management, risk register and management, teamwork, focus on customers and their needs, recognition to resilient team members, planning and communication, absolutely, yep. Lead, coach, and get teams throughout, communicate what is being done to the right stakeholders, check the lessons learned, recovery, and a lot of more are coming. Thank you so much. You're being so generous today with all of us, with your ideas and thoughts. Okay, so what we're saying is to use, to maximize, to utilize, achieve more with less. It's all about, again, focusing on what we can do today, and you are doing a lot of things. And don't forget, again, the future, to plan for the future. And it's all about, few priorities. The key lies in few priorities. And once we do that, these priorities, think of it this way. When I focus my team every single week on few priorities, and I make the right decisions, therefore, my decisions will have high impact on the results, on the business. Then I focus my team's attention every week on these few priorities. We call them the big rocks. This is where these big rocks, they will become the anchor, the organizing force in our weeks, in our team's week, and they will give a shape to the week. And we say that shape is absolutely peaceful, and there is harmony in it. So therefore, at the end of the week, we'll be able to capture some results, celebrate some few wins, if you wish, with the teams, because we as leaders are focusing their attention on only few things rather than just to be, getting them busy with everything. So this is the key thing about attention. And then finally, therefore, the third foundational choice was about energy. As a leader, I want to make sure, excuse me. As a leader, I want to make sure that I have high level of energy. So we call it that I fuel my fire all the time. and therefore I'll be able to influence or share that with my team so we don't burn out all of us together. And the foundational principle for that, we say it's renewal. So as a leader, what can I do to support my team working from home to harvest high levels of energy? Now, we can do that simply by educate them around, we call them 5 drivers, that it will guarantee that our energy level is renewed and it's like it's on fire all the time. So therefore, let me share with you this video. It will highlight these 5 drivers for energy, and we'll have a couple of questions after that. So I hope you enjoy the video.
Quality of life is influenced dramatically by the amount of energy we have. Energy influences not only what we can accomplish, but how much we enjoy what we do. Yet so many of us are worn down and worn out by the urgencies of life that we end up suffering from a personal energy crisis. We have 2 basic sources of energy. The first is our sense of purpose. When we're doing things that are important and meaningful to us, we're filled with energy. We give our best and enjoy making the effort. On the other hand, when we're caught up in things we feel aren't important, or maybe even meaningless, our energy goes out the window. By making choices 1 through 4, you'll tap into this first source of energy. You'll draw tremendous strength from a life that's focused on things that really matter. The second source of energy is our physical and mental capacity. Even if we're excited about the purposes in our lives, we might lack the energy in our bodies and our brains to enjoy them or even give them our best effort. Choice 5 is about building and sustaining that source of energy so we can put it toward our highest priorities. You know, there's a reason our hearts beat constantly instead of just once a day or once a year. To produce energy, the cells that make up our bodies need regular refueling from our bloodstream. In fact, the greater the load on our muscles, the more nourishment they need, and the faster our heart beats to supply the oxygen, glucose, and other nutrients they require. There's a key principle at work here. You can't live on last month's meals, just like you can't draw strength from last year's purposes. You need to create a consistent rhythm of renewal, like the beating of your heart, to keep your brain and body fully charged.
The science is always changing, but the real issue here is to have a mindset of continual renewal. That's what helps you maintain your energy level throughout the day. It allows you to be vital and healthy and well and really to avoid disease. Are you building into your life patterns, and are you making choices that really infuse your life with energy? Or are you really just on kind of autopilot, just doing things without really thinking and really wondering, why do I feel so tired all the time? It's really what makes the difference between wellness and disease. And really vitality and feeling like you just don't have enough to give, whether it's to your job or to your family or to your friends. The easiest way to make change in your life is to take some small steps. It's really hard to bite it all off at once, but if you take small steps, one at a time, they really start to build on one another. And that's what allows you to have new habits. And with new habits, that allows you to have that sense of renewal, higher energy and vitality, and it really starts to have a positive effect on your life.
There are 5 drivers of physical and mental capacity. They are move, eat, sleep, relax, and connect. And because these drivers are interconnected, what you do in one area affects what happens in all the others. When you work on all 5 drivers in a consistent way, you create a powerful energy generator for your body and brain.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much. I can see apologies. I can see from some of you on the chat box that they couldn't maybe see the screen or hear the voice. No worries. We will be sending you, the team will be sharing with you the recording of this webcast, so you will get to see the full video and again, connect with everything else in this webcast. Apologies for that. Now, we're talking about drivers, and it's all about what we're saying. It's all about one main driver is movement, moving, the way we eat, the way we sleep, relax, and connect. We're stating the obvious here. It's all common sense. And one thing, what I was just saying for the video as a leader, I want to make sure that I am the role model maybe in this. So what I'm saying is best practice, share with your teams. What are you doing when it comes to moving? And again, a lot of people are doing some sort of indoor exercise internally. You can share that with them. This way you will connect with them at a different level, and therefore you get them more engaged. The same way with the rest of the driver in terms of eating, dieting, relaxing, everything. Now, I want just again to ask you another question. Another quick question for you around these 5 drivers, and I appreciate your feedback on it. So, are you facing any challenges with energy? You have 1 minute, please share with me your experience around that. Okay, a few seconds. Okay, so if you can see the results, we have basically, again, different likely, not likely, extremely likely. We have different percentages because it is challenging, as I said, to do that. Thank you so much for giving us your feedback on it. What I want to do is, this is part of education. This is my role as a leader with my team. And I will be sharing with you this tool. So this is the second tool I'll be sharing with you. I'll be sharing with you a tool around the moment of choice. What kind of conversation as a leader I can have with my team members. It will help me to focus their attention towards our top priorities. You will receive that tool through our team. This is the second tool also. It's all around where are we from these 5 drivers. What might be some new things to try? This is where, as a leader, you can just reflect what you are doing when it comes to each driver in these boxes, and then team members can assess themselves. Each driver has 2 questions. And of course, it goes to all the drivers. It covers the 5 drivers. And at the end, here at this page, they have the key at the bottom, where through their own assessment, they'll be able to have an idea what course of action can they do to increase their level of energy. So that's the second tool I'll be sharing with you after this webcast. Now, in addition to that, closing, this toolkit of resources has been developed and designed by us, FranklinCovey, to enable you as leaders and your teams to work together in the most amazing, effective way. You will stay productive, and basically, and they will take individual ownership for any output. Also, this will be shared with you. A lot of things to be shared, right? And it's an amazing toolkit, direct to the point. Some of the things are related to today's webcast, but this is where we believe it's part of our mission. This is how we enable you and your teams through this crisis and afterwards, really, to focus your team towards amazing productivity. And I am sure all of us will survive through this crisis, and we will go to the next level with our teams. And the last thing, I will be sharing with you this article around 8 ways to manage remote team members in a good, more effective way. It's a different approach. Also, it's connected maybe to some of the things you already received, but a lot of things will be coming your way in addition to the recording of this webcast. Having said that, I would like really to thank you for joining us in this webcast. I hope it was beneficial and it was informative, simple, direct to the point. I wish you all the best, you and your teams, during this time. Please, if you have any information, feel free to reach out for us at info@franklincoveyme.com or visit our website, franklincoveyme.com, for a lot of things in your support. Just to announce also, we have our next webcast will be next Tuesday, 11 o'clock Gulf time. It will be activating the 7 habits in times of crisis. It will be run by my colleague, May Jabri, and it will be in Arabic as well for those of you who are interested to join that webcast. And you will be receiving the proper communication from our team regarding that. So thank you so much again. I would like just to see if any one of you to open like five minutes of questions. If you have any questions or comments around anything related to this webcast, you have the opportunity right now. How can I teach my employees the importance of productivity? Well, it's like if you connect to today's webcast, the best way to teach your team members anything is through, going or being that role model for that. So when you behave in a certain way, they will mimic, they will look up to you. So therefore, you teach them productivity by you yourself focusing on few priorities and not distract with a lot of things. This is a simple thing, and you can connect it to the rest of the points that I covered in this webcast. Thank you so much for this question. How do we keep motivation up if this crisis continues to drag out? Well, it's like we want to keep responding, not reacting to the updates in this crisis. I hear you and I feel with you. So it's like almost every single week, you try to engage with your team. The importance, again, I cannot stress enough on the importance of these one-on-ones. Reach out with them. Definitely, you want to reach out with them emotionally, and you need to connect with them at that emotional level, that assurance and support level, in addition to speaking and talking about the few priorities you want them to focus. This is the best way to keep them engaging, and you update it from one week to the other. How can we access to the next webcast and other topics? Also, as I said, you will receive some information, communication from our team regarding future webcasts. And I think How to measure productivity? That's maybe another 2 hours, my friend. But definitely it can be measured. It's connected to results. Asma, and if you attended the webcast by my colleague Sharif, I'm sure it will be repeated. It will help you loads in terms of, focusing or measuring productivity when it comes to goals and measurement and measurable goals and stuff. All right. Thank you so much again, guys. And it was a pleasure to be your host in this webcast. Please stay strong, stay safe, and we'll catch up. I'll catch up with you in the next webcast. Have an amazing, wonderful rest of the day. Thank you so much.